NSFW, what is one thing you hope your parents never find out about you? That I had a lot of sex with my boyfriend in my high school, like in the school building. Sold drugs, but never used any, just wanted money and a rush, not a rush from the drugs. Coke use. Oh, and that one time I told my mom I was getting up super early to go buy concert tickets. I was actually bringing my ex to get an abortion. The terrible things I did to the rubber duck they bought for me as a baby and how it's now a part of my sex life. I ducked one of my mum's best friends. How uncomfortable I am around them. When my parents were out on vacation, I invited a girlfriend that stayed nude with me 80% of the time. I first tried anal in my mom's bed. That I masturbate, but I feel it's definitely too late for that since my mum brings in a toilet roll and replaces it regularly in my room. Why does she put that there? She must know. Okay, late to the party and it's not mine, but I've been wanting to share this story for a long time. Back in the late 90s there was a local election. I don't remember who the candidates were. I grew up on a cul-de-sac, very low traffic area. Despite this, my neighbor was very serious about his political candidate and sign. One morning he awoke to a missing sign. He drove back to the campaign headquarters and put another one up. A couple days later, it was gone again and again. Eventually he put up a video camera to catch the sign thief in action. Sure enough, it was taken, but it was too dark and you couldn't make anything out. So he installed a light to illuminate the sign all night. Sure enough, it was still taken. Video showed someone in a trench coat and Bob Dylan mask stealing the sign. This just infuriated him more. All of the neighborhood kids, myself included, helped set booby traps. He sent the video into the local news and they came out and did a segment on it. He plastered the neighborhood with flyers with the pictures of the masked man, but it kept getting stolen. He glued the sign to a piece of plywood, then nailed that to a 4x4 post which he set into the ground. Next morning, the post has been cut down and the sign is gone, and video shows the same masked figure cutting it down with a big saw. He bought and installed a motion detector connected to an alarm in his bedroom. Video shows the figure going around the perimeter and disconnecting it from behind before stealing the sign. May he never discover that the sign thief was his own high school aged son. Edit. Holy it. Gold. Never thought I'd see the day. Thanks, anonymous redditor. My mother is the type who is super into spiritual stuff. That's just a little backstory. It was twice this happened. 1. She was all angry for no reason, bad mouthing about us over the phone, and I was curious what would happen if I let a droplet of water hit the light bulb. It exploded all over the place and my mother says, "See, this is because I'm angry. You guys need to get away from me before you get hurt." She actually thought that because she was angry things were about to start popping and exploding around her. If she finds out that it was me and it wasn't her powers, there's gonna be a lot of screaming and yelling. 2. She was angry because I hadn't took out the trash. So I took it out and was about to plug in my PS2. But I wondered what would happen if I touched a metal part to one that was already plugged in. The result was a short circuit and the lights and power went off in the other 3 rooms next to me. Again. She said it was because she was angry and her spiritual powers were growing. Knowing how she is, she'll probably flip out when she hears this. I unfortunately 12 and 13 when these things happened. I've had a tubal ligation. The chance that I'll change my mind and give them grandkids is non-existent. I don't want to tell them because of the permanence of it, but mostly because my mom will cry and guilt me each time I see her for years. The real reason of why I can't go to the produce part of the store. More worried about my grandparents finding out that I've abandoned religion. It would crush them. My parents not so much. I'm 62 and my parents have been gone for a long time. I think they never knew I was growing hydroponic pot in the backyard in my electronics lab in the 70s. Maybe they knew and just kept quiet and left me alone. I suspect they never knew. Considering my sex life, accused of rape, not guilty, was brought up in open court with them present. Not much else to hide from them. I was 15. A friend and I were with his parents and a large group of people camping at a lake during the summer, and we decided to sneak off and smoke a cigarette. This was in California during fire season, so putting the cigarette out was of utmost importance. I think you know where I'm going with this, but bear with me. Turned out we didn't put the cigarette out, and the entire camp, 20-30 people, including us, ended up running buckets to and from the lake to put out a decent sized fire. All the while a Cal Fire, wildfire agency, plane is flying above scoping it out. My dad was the fire captain in the plane. I'm 24 now and I'm still slightly afraid of what he'd do, his reaction if he found out. In case you're wondering, we did put out the fire. The obvious common answer, all the unique kinds of porn I've watched. I'm a retired drug dealer. Also, drug dealing is not for everyone, and is not a viable business. The copious amounts of pot I smoke, or the fact that I smoke. That I still remember when she said she wanted to kill me a few years back, and I cried about it. She will never find out that it broke my heart. I'm sexually attracted to fictional monster girls. I had sex with my childhood best friend's mother. They called me out and I denied it. All of high school I forged my report cards using a very bad Microsoft Word template that was pretty much just a few tables. These didn't even have letterheads from my school or anything. Went from a 2.1 to a 3.4 GPA. Now that I think about it, my parents were really dumb for not seeing through those shoddy report cards. All the dirty pictures there are of me and all of the dirty pictures and videos there are to come. I also plan to sell dirty panties, become a suicide girl, and hopefully do cam stuff. I will tell them about doing suicide girls. My mom already knows I want to and my dad generally doesn't care so long as I am being safe. But I would rather they never see a video of me ducking a pretty boy in the ass with a strap on or getting tied up and flogged. That I don't particularly like them, or the rest of my family for that matter. My dad is dead. I have 3 younger brothers. Mom is remarried to a cool enough guy. And I have 3 older stepsisters. Every few years I'll go back and visit. Not because miss any of them, but because my mother, my brothers, and my girlfriend will pester me about visiting. I'll call every few months because the girlfriend will pester me about calling my mom. My girlfriend is very close to her family. Plus, I suppose you're supposed to stay connected with your mom and family. I don't dislike them, but I'm no more fond of them than any other acquaintances. I don't really enjoy my time with them. When I visit New Hampshire, I try to fill my time doing all the tourist things I never did when I lived there, so that I'm too busy to spend it with family, or catching up with the one friend I have there that I still give a damn about, who wants their mother to find out her firstborn is relatively indifferent to her. Edit. Tomorrow is Sunday. I'll call mom. I could never tell my dad that I'm not Catholic anymore, that I drink at times, have sex, skinny dip, and just overall take part in debauchery. My mom, on the other hand, will try to compete with my stories with her own accounts of debauchery and law breaking. My family is weird. I sold weed to my older brother like 20 minutes ago. That I had a threesome with hubby and another chick. Exactly how much LSD I did in high school. That I was molested by a family friend when I was little. This is the first time I've told a single person and it makes me sick at myself to even remember it. Once a homeless child, I strangled their son, took his place. They still don't know. That I'm scared and frustrated and feel a little cheated by the fact that I will have to take care of my mom as her Parkinson's disease gets worse. She's already pretty debilitated, mainly cognitively. I handle her finances, her paperwork, her medical stuff. Her disability doesn't cover much, so I pay for everything she can't afford. I love her. I owe her this, and I will do it, but knowing that it will be this long, slow decline, that it could go on for another 20 years, that I will eventually have to bathe and feed her like a baby, that makes me feel panicked and trapped. My youngest child is 15 months old. I worry that, by the time I'm done taking care of everyone that needs me, there will be nothing left of me. My address. I cut both of them off and want nothing to do with them. Pretty much everything I did between the ages of 15 to 21. I already promised I wouldn't run for public office while they were alive so they wouldn't have to hear the dirt. They were grateful. I knocked a girl up when I was 17. For those wondering why they don't know now, she miscarried at 4 months. Neither of our parents knew that they are a burden, and I've felt like the parent for most of my childhood and adulthood. Once my sister and I went to the beach and brought bananas to eat. We forgot about them, and when we got home, we just left the bag in her room. Well, a few weeks later, she came crying to me. The bag smelled like death and flies were swarming around. I opened the bag and there were hundreds of maggots everywhere. It was amazing that they didn't get out. At the bottom of the bag I found one thing, a blackened banana. My sister continues to tell me that the bag was expensive. In her panic, she came up with a great idea. The idea was to get the bag, walk to her school, and drop it in the dumpster by the building, and then tell our parents that we lost it. So I ended up getting paid $50 to drag a maggoty bag to a dumpster at 3 in the morning. By the way, my parents ended up buying her a new bag and believed her story that it was stolen. That I'm a masochist. No parent wants to find out their kid likes getting bruised. Then finding the bad dragon toys would not be ideal. I just found out last night that I have been buying premium Xbox Live 12-month subscriptions on auto renew on my mother's credit card for 5 years. I haven't owned an Xbox for 4 years. How horrible my depression has become. Frankly, they're so invasive and controlling that there's not much left to tell. They've set so many internet safety things that they probably know my every sexual kink and porn preference. My mom's dug through my room enough to find and take cigarettes and booze, twice. Thankfully she didn't see or was smart enough to leave my condoms. They've probably figured out at this point that I'm not a Christian anymore. They subtly make it clear how disappointing I am often, and I'm pretty sure they make me the example of how not to end up for my brothers. Jesus. I remember making a joke at 13 about cream soda looking like beer and my mom telling me to stop because I'm the one she worries about. Bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy maybe. They berate me for doing nothing but watching Netflix and playing video games. But I do plenty more than that. I meditate, exercise, read, and basically do anything to try to be a generally better person. And yet they always bug me for not spending enough time with them. I just don't share their interests, and honestly don't see myself getting homesick when I move out. That I found my mom's bag of dildos. Actually it appeared to be a single power dildo with a half dozen or so attachments. This was in my parents' bathroom above the light fixture. Next to it was a roll of 100s with 10,000 written in pen on the outside bill and a revolver next to that. I'm just waiting to repress this memory. The nasty, dirty, filthy things I have done in bed and on camera. That I've spread my seed into the majority of our towels at one point. That I'm subscribed to RedditJar narcissists, read it religiously, and have posted about them there. My dad would be brokenhearted, and my mother, the narc, would deny the hell out of it and play the victim. For the last 10 years I've pretended to be a germaphobe. I'd act completely disgusted at almost everything. If someone touched my food I'd get new food. If they brought me home a drink the straw had to be left in the wrapper so I knew it hadn't been touched. I'd start gagging at every little thing they did to tease me as they realized more and more how much I hated it. I did this for 10 years just so I'd never have to wash the dishes. I know the second my mother finds out, every time I go over there I'll have to do the dishes for the rest of our lives. That I'm in therapy because of them. They think it's for my PTSD. They just don't realize that they are one of the sources. That I took a break from school, a long one. I have to fess up this next winter, because they are under the impression I should be graduating by the end of this year. I'm 22, and if you're in the same situation like me, your time is running out. I've been working corporate for a poorly run computer company. Naive is strong with this one. The experience was slightly worth it, and has made me a more confident person socially. Edit. Your stay in school kids. I still play World of Warcraft most nights and raid every Thursday and Sunday night.